أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله، صلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين، لا سيما بقية الله الحجة بن الحسن صلوات الله عليه، واللعن على أعدائهم أبد الآبدين ودهر الداهرين. اللهم كل وليك الحجة بن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقادا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا تمتعه فيها طويلا. There is a saying that we always use, that you cannot find all ahkam in Quran. And that's right. That's right. Because we need narrations. Quran is not our only source of information, because we have our prophets saying, Ahlulbayt saying as well, actions as well. However, the fundamental of Islamic jurisprudence have been mentioned in Quran. And if we understand the fundamentals of Islamic jurisprudence from Quran by the interpretations of Ahlulbayt alayhim salam, would be able to understand the gist of Islamic jurisprudence. And I'm not saying that then you would be faqih or mujtahid, you would be able to understand all ahkam. However, you would have a sharp vision that can help you to build your life upon the jurisprudence of Quran. For instance, riba. Riba. In Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that حرم الربا. Jewish came and said, okay, what's the difference between riba and profit? Usury and profit. No different. إنما البيع مثل الربا. That selling, trading is the same to riba. Making profit. And then Allah replied, no. أحل الله البيع وحرم الربا. Okay. This is the apparent meaning of the Quran. I can remember one of great scholars, Ayatollah Sayyid Muhammad al-Ruhani, explained this verse in a way that I understood the depth of it. He said, why they said there is no difference between bay and riba? Because they saw both of them can give you profits. In bay, you buy something for $1,000 and you sell it for 1,200. So 200 is what? Profit. In riba, you give 1,000, borrow somebody 1,000, and he returns to you 1,200, correct? Correct? So it's the same. Allah said, no, it's not the same. It's different. Usury will what? Will assassinate the economic, while trading will help the economic. Big difference. And this is exactly what Imam Zaman would do. When people are about to suffocate with their debt, he comes and says, there is no usury in Islam. You borrowed him, لَأَكُمْ رُؤُوسَ أَمْوَالِكُمْ. Borrowed him 500 grand. How much you have now? 600. You have to pay him back 100 grand. And that's it. And then people will accept him. Just imagine now Imam Zaman comes. What would be the percentage of the West that they believe in him if he fully stopped usury? High percentage. Most of the West are in debt towards banks. A bank would be bankrupt. No, they have to do business. It's called mudaraba. It's different. Business, because see, if you sit back, okay, I give you 1K and I receive back 1,200. Okay, you would have to give me back that money. But if you do mudaraba, okay, we are what? Partners. So you have to enter a trade that in most occasion can give you profits. But if you take that $1,000, you don't have a guarantee that you can make money with it. It's different. You have to study the situation. It needs more. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Hayyakum Allah. It needs more. Sakum Allah bil khair. كيف الأحوال؟ Ya Allah, long time.
We have a book club thing that we do.
Oh, okay, good.
It's mostly sisters.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately, not a lot of brothers.
Okay.
But
How come you were there?
because I'm facilitating it.
Oh, okay, but you're not sister.
Hey?
You're not sister.
I'm not a sister, unfortunately, yeah. So
Okay.
we need more leaders in the sister side
Okay.
to facilitate, inshallah.
Yeah. أهلا ومرحبا. So, if we want to think rationally and economic wise, there is a big difference between usury and profits. And that's why Allah says in Quran, أحل الله البيع وحرم الربا. They are not the same. Big difference.
Said what's mudaraba?
Mudaraba means I give you money and you work with the money, but not only the profit will be split between us. If you lose, I will lose as well. So lose and profit. And if you lose the whole money, lost. You don't have to give me anything back. While in riba, you have to give me whether you lose or you make profit. I don't care. I need my money back and something more than that. Gave you 1K, I need 1200s. This is wrong. This is haram. But in mudaraba, it's very fair. Okay, you're working, you couldn't make it. I'm responsible for that because I gave you the money. I have to take the percentage, some percentage of the risk as well.
So theoretically, this will improve the economy compared to interest.
Of course,
It's like
because in
investment.
interest you're doing nothing. Here you're doing business.
Yeah, it's an investment.
Investment, business
So
is
you're
different.
basically partners, business partners.
Exactly, exactly.
Or going in that business
Exactly.
venture.
It should be lose and benefit, lose and profit. Otherwise, it's riba. And riba, actually, riba is nothing. Riba is bankruptcy. Banks give you money, or when you put money to them. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah sayyidina. Taqabballahu amalakum. When you put some money, then do you think they're going to go and do business with it? They're going to give it to somebody else. That's why in some countries, banks are really bankrupt. They don't have any money. They take
Real
from,
money, anyway.
it's not exactly not real money. They take
The
money from
they
you.
give is not real
Yeah,
money.
it's not real money, correct. It's not real money. That's the problem. So anyway, let's go back to our topic. So if I understand that, or أحل الله البيع, أوفوا بالعقود, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says أوفوا بالعقود, if I understand that, that won't be enough for me to understand the gist of Shia jurisprudence. I need narrations as well. When they talk about بيع الكالي بالكالي, or when they talk about بيع الدين بالدين, which is haram. I owe you money and he owes me money. I tell you, I sell my dain to you, buy his dain to me. This is بيع الدين بالدين. What do you mean? So, حل الله البيع. Not every بيع is halal. There are conditions. Okay, بيع. Selling alcohol. Is it halal? Well, it's haram. أحل الله البيع, but not selling alcohol. Why? Quran has its own reason. That's something else. So we need to understand. So not every بيع is halal. Nikah. وأنكحوا الأيام منكم والصالحين من عبادكم وإمائكم. Allah says in Quran. Let them marry. Okay. If somebody wants to marry his sister, so what? Allah says, let them marry, not his sister. You're not allowed. His auntie, you're not allowed. So we need to know that. His sister rida'a and breastfeeding, he's not allowed, and etc. Recently, I just heard a story in Iraq. After having few kids, they realized that they are brother and sister in rida'a by breastfeeding, and that's a big problem, big issue. So not everything is umum. We have some conditions, exemptions, and we need to know those exemptions. And that's why our scholars say you can I'm translating the phrase. You can put an exemption on verses with a single narration. So if Allah says, Ahlulbayt, and then somebody comes, let's say that we find a narration talking about cryptocurrency, that cryptocurrency is haram. Let's say that. A single narration, which is Sahih as-Sanad. The chain, nothing is wrong with chain. Scholars don't have any fundamental problem with this narration. We can say, Ahlulbayt, but not this bay'ah.
With a single narration, you can.
Yeah, you can. That's what our scholars say.
Is
With
that
a
similar-
single authentic narration. Yeah.
So is that similar to, for example, fish?
What
Like
fish? Fishing?
In the Quran where it says, what's the food? أحل الله
حلال الله لكم الصيد.
أحل لكم صيد البحر
صيد
وطعامه حل لكم
طعامه حل لكم.
وللسيارة. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about it?
Because some people interpret it as all fish or all types of seafood.
Apparently, this verse is talking about أحل لكم صيد البحر while you are in the state of ihram.
Oh, okay.
If you go and see the previous verse, it's about ihram. But there are some scholars who say that you can eat whatever moves in the sea.
That's because there's a difference. There's narrations that.
That's
Same thing
exactly.
indicate that.
That's
There's
exactly.
narrations that seem to indicate
Yeah.
you can't.
Yeah.
So it's a
That's it. So,
hadith.
but usually, the vast majority of our scholars, even when they talk about that, they analyze that in their classes, they say probably we can say it's halal, but they don't issue a fatwa. Why? Because Sunni believe that all types of fish are halal.
And there's narrations that talk
So
about.
because they say that, and we have narrations saying
Both.
only scaled fish are halal, and some narrations saying all types of fish are halal. So they say those narrations might be taqiyya. That's why they say we probably don't have enough authentic evidence that can show us that all types of fish are halal. So again, we need to know that, and we need to know that through narrations as well. So what we're going to do in our class, we're not going to talk about jurisprudence. Not only that, we're not going to talk about jurisprudential verses as well. Rather, we're going to talk about topics. So probably in one day we're going to talk about inheritance and how people inherit and why Allah talks about that, and we'll bring some narrations. So this is not a jurisprudence class. Rather, we'd like to give as much fundamental information as possible to the audience so they can understand the gist of Quranic jurisprudence. So it's a big difference between teaching jurisprudence or even teaching jurisprudential, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, jurisprudential verses, and talking about the fundamentals of jurisprudence in Quran. So fundamentals of jurisprudence or divorce jurisprudence in Quran. Types, fundamentals.
So
How?
is it going to be the methodology?
Yeah, I'm talking. So listen. We might bring. So in one topic, let's say, if we want to talk about divorce, how many types of divorce Allah mentioned in Quran? When you have to pay the whole mahar, when you don't need to pay the whole mahar and dowry, when what Allah mentioned and what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not mention, we have to go. This is very important. Why? What Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not mention openly, and we cannot understand it from verses of Quran, and we need narrations for that hukum. So this can show us not always we can understand everything of Quran. We need narrations as well. Alaykum assalam wa rahmatullah. This is very important, because sometimes when you talk to people, you tell them this is halal or that is haram. What they say, okay, can you show me that from Quran? No, I can't. Why you can't? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Sayyidina. Why you can't? Because not everything is mentioned in Quran. Tell me, how many rak'ah is Salat al-Subh? You can't find that in Quran. You can't find. Even Fakhr al-Razi, I've mentioned that to my friends. Even Fakhr al-Razi, and when he comes to Salat al-Qasr, when he travel, he says, Allah says, وَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْكُمْ وَإِذَا ضَرَبْتُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ فَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْكُمْ أَن تَقْصُرُوا مِنَ الصَّلَاةِ. If you travel, it's okay for you to cut your prayers short. And then he says how? Because you can do it in two ways. By praying 2 rak'ah instead of 4 rak'ah, or praying 4 rak'ah but without recitations. When you go to sujood, you don't recite. So instead of taking 5 minutes, you take only 2 minutes, because you're doing sujood without recitation. So which way should be followed? He says here, which is very important, he says we have to see how the Prophet did it. Okay, really, how the Prophet did it here, but not elsewhere? So this is very important. It's a confess, I can say. He confessed that we have to see the Prophet. Okay, you have to see the Prophet here, but not in إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. When the Prophet used, he said that. The Prophet went to the Mubahala with Lady Fatima and Imam al-Hasan, Imam al-Hussein and Imam Ali. That's it. Without any of his wives. And then you mentioned that in Ayat al-Mubal, but when you go to Ayat al-Tathir, you said, yes, all women of the Prophet. How? Well, the Prophet did not take any other woman but Lady Fatima. So I think Fakhr al-Razi thought that he's playing football with kids. He didn't realize that he's dealing with very accurate Shia scholars. It's not a playing. إنه الجد للهز. It's very serious. We are here to talk, to mention what is right and what is wrong. So yeah, this بعدها الصلاة مو؟ Okay. So this is the frame of our class. Only going to talk. Probably sometimes, if we see that it is appropriate for us to talk about this verse in more, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, in more depth, we will do so. But if we see now, we only will have to talk about the whole verses, what's been mentioned in narration, what's not been mentioned in Quran, and Ahlulbayt mentioned that. For instance, in hudud and punishment laws, nothing has been mentioned about rajm. Sometimes stoning. Stoning is not mentioned in Quran. And our scholars say that. Stoning has been mentioned only in narrations.
So how do the Sunnis get it?
Narrations?
Even in the narration.
Narrations.
يعني
You have to go and ask them. I'm not a Sunni, but so too many. What I'm trying to say, if we understand this side of fiqh, I can say the blind side of fiqh, then we can understand. Okay, if we need, there are ahkam that they are definite, no one can reject them, and they have not been mentioned in Quran. That means that sometimes, if we say this is halal, that haram, the response to what we say cannot be, okay, I cannot find any verse in Quran talking about that. Yes, but there are some narrations. So if we bring multiple examples for that, then we will believe in that. It's going to be aqidah, it's going to be muhkam, you know, that we have to follow. And that's very important. And then we need to understand that we need to submit to Ahlulbayt alayhim salam as we submit to Quran. So don't say, okay, this is a narration. Yeah, it's narration. It's the extension of Quran. Narration means the extension of Quran. Narration means the depth of Quran. Okay, the surface of the sea is sea. The depth of the sea is sea. Narrations are the depth of Quran. While the surface of Quran, Zahir al-Quran is the Quran. The verses, very important. It is that much important that if you are not Tahir, you're not allowed to touch the line of Quran. It's that important, you know? But it doesn't mean that it doesn't have any depth. As a matter of fact, I was reading tafsir, Ahlulbayt of Surah Al-Jum'ah, when I saw the narrations about this verse, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, من يوم الجمعة, then if you finish, you can go. If you finish, you can go. Allah says in Surah Al-Jum'ah, فإذا قضيت الصلاة فانتشروا. Ahlulbayt took, okay, إذا قضيت الصلاة فانتشروا, what we understand from that? When Salat finishes, you can go to your trading, correct? What is the second layer of that? Ahlulbayt say that إذا قضيت الصلاة فانتشروا, if you finish Salat, don't travel on Jum'ah, rather travel on Saturday. This is another layer. So Ahlulbayt can understand that, but we cannot. So even that can be understood of Quran, but not by us, by Ahlulbayt alayhim as-salam, and etc. So another verse, when somebody asks Imam Sadiq, should the Imam al-Jama'ah in Yawm al-Jum'ah stands and deliver his sermon or sits and delivers his sermon? He said, can't you read Quran? وَتَرَكُوكَ قَائِمًا. They left you standing. It's very beautiful, very accurate, very beautiful. I don't think Sunni understand that. Ahlulbayt focus on that. So sometimes they make you understand the surface of Quran. Even the surface of Quran, sometimes you cannot understand it, the apparent meaning. Sometimes they teach you the depth of Quran. And that in whole Quran and in ahkam. So we need to do that as well, inshallah. Sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa alihi wa